The Marlins suffered an ugly loss to the New York Mets on Monday night, and the starting pitchers for this team have to do more moving forward.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. Go hit me up on X at Jeremiah Geiger2. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you don't miss any episodes moving forward. Leave a like and leave your comments in the comments section. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So Monday night, the Marlins suffer their first blowout loss of the season, 10-4 to the division rival New York Mets. You go into this game with high expectations. If you're a Marlins fan, you're coming off the really enjoyable experience of this past weekend with 3 walk-off wins. Hey, maybe they can go out, make a statement on Monday against a really good team in the Mets and surprise some people. And it's only one game, but they didn't get the job done. And there's a lot to take from this loss. And it starts with the starting pitching. Now that we have 1 through 5, the starting rotation has gone through one go-around this season. The one thing I have to mention is that these pitchers have to do more to protect the bullpen and help their team, give their team a chance to win games. Max Meyer is the only pitcher to pitch into the 6th inning so far. Sandy didn't, Valente Bayozo didn't, and Cal Quantrill didn't. In fact, Sandy, Bayozo, and Quantrill, they all didn't make it out of the 5th inning. So Cal Quantrill was the story of the loss to the New York Mets. It was his Marlins debut. He was signed as a pitcher that is going to go in and give you innings. An innings eater is what we call it. Someone that is going to provide protection to the bullpen, provide protection to the younger members of the pitching staff. He's a veteran. He's been around. This isn't new to him. He's not a prospect. He's not inexperienced. And he didn't get the job done. He worked himself into some serious trouble in the 5th inning, and that's where the game got away. Was that one inning. It was a 10-4 loss, 7-run 5th inning for the New York Mets. So you really lose the game in that one frame. And you can't have that moving forward. You cannot have these blow-up innings from your starters, especially somebody like Cal Quantrill, who you brought in to eat those innings and provide that insurance. And it didn't happen. Now, he got himself into trouble, but he was also left in the game to attempt to work himself out of that trouble. More on that later in the show. I do have some issue with how Clayton McCullough operated in that frame and how he handled the bullpen in that situation. But that's coming up later. Right now, the issue at hand is that Marlins starting pitchers, they're thin at the top of the rotation. In the rotation, they are thin. Behind the 5 starters right now, you have Ryan Weathers, who is injured and hopefully comes back soon. You have Edward Cabrera, who was dealing with a blister. He's starting a rehab assignment, so hopefully he'll be back soon. But behind that, there's really no reinforcements on the immediate way. So right now, you have somebody like Sandy Alcantara. He's your ace. You know he's going to get the ball every 5th day. You optioned Valente Bayozo, so he's not going to make his second start. You're going to get somebody else up there, maybe Jansen Junk. Maybe because you have that off day on Thursday, it just goes to the next guy in the rotation and you just skip his start completely. But when you have a thin rotation and you don't have a ton of workhorses apart from Sandy Alcantara, then it inevitably is going to lead to the bullpen getting a lot of work. And early on, we've seen this bullpen, we've seen the importance of these relievers who have the ability to go multiple innings. On Friday, the Marlins' lone loss in the Pittsburgh series, Tyler Phillips, new acquisition. He's had starters experience before. He was a starter with the Phillies. He came on in middle relief and gave 3 solid innings. In the loss to the Mets, Luarber Arias, making his major league debut, by the way. Shout out Luarber Arias. 3 perfect innings. That is saving the bullpen because the starters aren't doing you any justice. They're not the ones giving you a day off. And now with Tinoco being on the injured list, that's one less high leverage arm that you can rely on. So Clayton and the rest of the Marlins, this team is going to have to rely on these starters to either give you more length or these middle relievers to come in and give you 2 innings, 3 innings at a time, and keep yourself afloat in the hope that the game is close. Because right now the Marlins aren't jumping out to huge leads. They're coming from behind. They're the comeback fish, and it's awesome. This team is battling to the very end, and I love that. But I got to see more from these starters. It starts with Sandy. It starts with your ace. He would be the first one to tell you, hey, I got to make it through at least 5 innings. At least. And he didn't get it done on opening day. They got the win. It was exciting. But this second start against the Mets, hopefully you bounce back. Hopefully you get a win. It's going to start with him. This team has to bounce back and face adversity coming off a loss like this. Because this type of loss is what everybody else expected of you. Everyone expects the Marlins to lose. And frankly, to lose in fashion like this. You go down 10-4 to the New York Mets. You think fans of other teams, when they turn on their TV, they check the MLB app. Oh yeah, the Mets beat the Marlins 10-4. That's not surprising to them. Now, we don't want that. The team doesn't want that. They want to shock the world. They want to prove that they belong. They want to get better every day and put themselves in competitive situations. A blowout loss isn't competitive. It's adversity. How are you going to respond to that adversity? Sandy Alcantara, your ace, takes the ball next. He's on the mound. Go out there and get a dub. Coming up next, I'm going to talk to you about Clayton McCullough's decision-making in that 5th inning, what went wrong, and why I think this is a learning experience for him as a new manager. That's coming up right after this. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the necks. The Final Four is here, and if you got your eye on either Duke, Houston, Auburn, or Florida, FanDuel makes it easy to back any of those teams with either the spreads, the totals, or the game props. Stay in the action because there's always something exciting to bet on. The FanDuel app is simple to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. So, if you're ready to go bet on the Final Four, visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. If you're an everyday listener, I appreciate you tuning in. If this is your first time watching or listening to Locked On Marlins, hit subscribe on the YouTube channel, leave a like, and come back for more episodes Monday through Friday during the week, all season long. Locked On Marlins is going to be right here. And share the podcast. Share the podcast with any other Marlin fans you have, any friends. Let's keep growing this thing together. talking about Clayton McCullough and his decision-making in the 5th inning of the game. So it's a 1-1 game in the top of the 5th. Cal Quantrill is having a decent outing. It's his Marlins debut. And he's brought in to be somebody that's expected to go at least 5 innings. There's no surprise that he's pitching in the top of the 5th, but he gets himself into some trouble. Luis Angel Acuna singles, Jose Siri doubles, it drives in a run, and suddenly the Mets are up 2-1. But it's still a 1-run game. You're still right in the middle of this. If you're a Marlins fan, you're thinking, hey, let's go out, let's come back. We've done it against the Pirates. Let's go get another win here. But then you look down the lineup coming up for the Mets, and you have the big boppers. You have the guys that can really do some damage. You already have a run in on the board. You're down a run now, and you have Starling Marte, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso coming up. So you want to see the bullpen get at least active as the pitch count starts to climb, and Marte gets hit with the pitch. Right? He's a right-handed batter. Pitch comes in, it hits him. Now you have runners on first and second. So things are not going well. Juan Soto, a lefty, is coming into the game to hit. Why is Cal Quantrill still out there? You have Anthony Veneziano warming up in the bullpen, presumably to face the left-handed hitting Soto. And, the TV broadcast was saying the same thing. Shout out Kyle Seeloff. He's saying this is going to be it. Juan Soto's coming up. This is probably going to be the last batter. And no, it didn't happen that way. Clayton McCullough leaves Cal Quantrill in the game to face Soto. There's no base open. You have runners on first and second. So he's going to pitch to him. And Soto has a great eye at the plate. He walks. So now you have the bases loaded. There's still nobody out. And certainly now is the time you take out Cal Quantrill, right? Pete Alonso, a Marlin killer of all Marlins killers, is up at the plate. No, they leave him in yet again. And I just didn't understand it. At that point, it felt inevitable that something bad was going to happen. And the worst case scenario absolutely happened. Pete Alonso goes yard. It's a grand slam. And now you're down 6-1, just like that. In the blink of an eye, you go from a 1-run game with runners on first and second. Maybe you can turn to, Juan Soto isn't the fleetest of foot. Maybe you bring in Veneziano. He induces a ground ball. You get 2 outs and you get out of it with limited damage. And now, instead of that, it's 6-1 and they never recovered. They give up a few more runs. George Soriano comes in the game. He gives up a home run. It was just, it got away. And the Marlins tack a few runs on in garbage time, but ultimately it doesn't matter. And the box score isn't anything special. You lose 10-4. By all accounts, that's a blowout. Clayton McCullough has faith in his guys. That's what showed me when he leaves Quantrill out. That's showing faith in him as a pitcher. Hey, I believe in you to get out of this inning. But at that point, you just have to take him out. You have to play the matchup with Veneziano as a lefty against Soto, especially when your pitcher is struggling with command. And then when you walk Soto, 99% of the time, 100% of the time, you take him out. But you don't, and you get burned. You played with fire, and you got burnt bad. So I appreciate the faith that Clayton McCullough has in his guys. But I would do it way differently. You gotta put in a reliever at that point. Quantrill, it just got away from him the 3rd time through the order. It goes back to what I talked about in the first segment. Struggling to get through games, struggling to provide that length. And yes, he was brought in to be an innings eater. But at that point, you cut your losses and you put in a fresh arm. Quantrill knows he has to be better. We all know he has to be better. And this was his first start. And for the first 4 innings, it wasn't terrible. Gave up the home run to Starling Marte and then gets himself into trouble in that 5th inning. And maybe that's going to be the issue for these Marlins pitchers moving forward, is that 3rd time through the order. These guys, these really good teams like the New York Mets that have lineups that can do some serious damage, games can get away from you in a hurry. And at that point, you got to play the bullpen game. The Marlins are going to rely on their bullpen. If nothing changes, they're going to rely on their bullpen. And it's a storyline that might be drowned out because it's just an early season game, and it's something that, results in a loss, and it wasn't too exciting. But the fact that you can get through this game with only 2 relievers pitching, I think is a plus. Luarber Arias, 3 innings, didn't give up a hit, didn't give up a walk, got his first major league strikeout. George Soriano struggled. He came in after Quantrill did, and he struggled. And I think there needs to be conversations surrounding his future as that middle reliever. I don't think he's somebody that should be coming in for multiple innings. Arias looked good. Maybe they have something there. But Soriano, 3 hits, gave up 2 home runs, so the Mets finished with 4 homers on the night. Only struck out 1. It was just a quiet game. It was a quiet game once Quantrill was left in and gave up that grand slam. It was pretty much over. But there were positives. There were positives from this game, starting with Otto Lopez. Otto Lopez had himself another 3-hit game, and he is quickly establishing himself as one of the better second basemen in all of baseball, even though people might not know the name, which is wild to say. But you look around the entire scope of Major League Baseball right now, Otto Lopez should be recognized right now, and by the end of the season, he could be considered one of the best at his position. I'm going to talk to you more about him right after this. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need, delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. If you haven't already, submit a mailbag question every single Friday here on Locked On Marlins. It is the mailbag episode. I do my best to answer each and every question that you have surrounding the team. So in order to do so, you can either hit me up on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2, leave a comment in the comment section on YouTube, and I'll answer your question. And you can be a part of this show. I mention you by name, shout you out, and discuss some baseball. So Otto Lopez, heading into 2025, I'll be the first one to say, and I've said it before, I didn't think he was a franchise player. I didn't think he could be the second baseman of the future for the Marlins. But my position on that has taken a complete 180. In fact, when I look around the rest of Major League Baseball and I look at the start that Otto Lopez has had, I see a scenario in which he's one of the best second basemen in the entire sport at the end of this year. second base isn't a position right now that's very heavily loaded with offensive stars. You have Ketel Marte, who I think is far and away the best second baseman offensively. You have Marcus Semien for the Texas Rangers, someone who really provides that slug and that power. And Otto Lopez isn't that power hitter. He's not going to hit 30-plus home runs like Ketel Marte or Semien can. But he's already hit 2. And against the Mets, he smashed an opposite field bomb right off the facing in the bleachers. I mean, it was crushed. And this is from a right-handed hitter, a right-handed contact hitter. So he's obviously putting on some strength in the gym and trying to just be the most consistent, well-rounded bat he can be right now. And that includes power. If he can continue this power and end the season with 15-ish home runs, maybe that's a lofty goal, but 10 to 15 home runs, he's a top 10 second baseman in the game. His defense is elite. He's going to play an extremely good defense paired with Xavier Edwards. That's a good double play combo. I know Xavier Edwards, his range isn't optimal, but they like him there enough to keep him there. And so Otto Lopez, when the ball's hit to him, he's going to make the play. The contact's always been there, dating back to his time in the minors. And if this little power surge we're seeing, already 2 home runs, if this continues, then you're going to see his name get more notoriety. Second 3-hit game, albeit in a loss, still went 3 for 5, drove in 2 runs, only struck out once. So he does have good contact skills. Like I said, that average is going to be there. Lopez was a great find for Peter Bendix. Coming from last season, waiver claim from the San Francisco Giants. And I am very happy that the Marlins have him right now. He's been an extreme bright spot in this offense. I've talked about this offense not necessarily having an identity. And I still don't think they have a set identity. They're scrappy, and they're going to do everything they can to claw their way back into games. And I like that. Otto Lopez right now is the best offensive player they have, at least in 2025. And I can say that confidently given the start that he's had to the season. Griffin Conine has had another really good start to his season. The big thing with Griffin Conine throughout his whole career was the strikeouts. Can he cut down on the strikeout percentage? It was always about 30% or upwards of 30% in his during his time in the minor leagues. And he had a really decent month of September. He earns himself an opening day job. And so far, through 5 games, he's played in every game. He's only struck out once in 12 at-bats. And that was my huge concern with him, was the strikeouts. So if he's turned a corner, the power's there. We all know the power is going to be there. If Griffin Conine has turned a corner and is really for real in terms of improving his contact skills and avoiding those strikeouts, he is another find. And he does provide that all fields 70, 80 grade power. So really keep tabs on Conine moving forward. It's a legacy name. He had that awesome Hollywood-esque play on Sunday in which he robbed a home run and hit a game-time home run in the same game. Conine has the potential to be a stud in this lineup, just like Otto Lopez. Because by stock now, he's not going away. He's played every single inning so far to start the year, which is notable given the fact that Clayton McCullough and the Marlins constantly pinch hit, especially in the outfield. Dane Myers gets a start, gets pinch hit. Kyle Stowers gets a start, gets pinch hit. They play the matchup game. There's none of that with Lopez. Lopez could be an all-star. He most definitely could be a Marlins all-star, not just this year, but for years to come. Because I don't think he's going to be going anywhere. He continues to rate guys. I'm looking at this list. I want to share a few names here. It's the Fox Sports list of the 10 best second basemen heading into 2025. Let's start with Andres Jimenez here. He's ranked number 4. His 2024 stats, he had a down season. 252, 9 homers, 83 WRC plus. Ozzie Albies, another down season, 251, 10 homers, 95 WRC plus. Number 7, this is what I find interesting. Nico Horner. Doesn't hit for a lot of power. 2025 Zips projections has him at 275, 9 homers, 105 WRC plus. You don't think Otto Lopez can provide more offense than that, given what we've seen this start of the season? I certainly do. It's going to be interesting. The other thing, before we get out of here today, I want to talk about the minor league system. All minor league affiliates for the Marlins will be televised. So if you have MLB TV, if you have the MLB app, and maybe the Marlins are losing 10-4, and you just want to take a break from watching them, or after their game has finished, you decide, you know what, I'm going to check out the minor league teams. You can watch them on TV. You can watch the TV broadcasts on the app, on MLB TV. Watch them. This minor league system is in the best shape we've seen in a long time. It's deep. There is a lot of talent throughout the system at every level. Low A, double A, triple A. And you're going to see a lot of these names in the major leagues. You're going to see a lot of these names become Marlins. These guys are the future fish. They are the future of this franchise in many aspects. So keeping tabs with them. Augustin Ramirez has had a great start to the season. Max Acosta has had a great start to the season just in the first series that they've played. Acosta's hitting the ball well. And Augustin Ramirez, potentially the catcher of the future, smokes the cover off the ball. It would not shock me if you see Augustin Ramirez in Miami before June. Maybe that's a bold prediction, but I think there's potential for it. He's that good at the plate. So, all in all, the Marlins have to bounce back. They have to get more depth out of their starting pitchers, more length. They have to contribute. Can't just rely on the bullpen. Cannot just rely on these middle relievers. Because the day will come in the summer when you're on game 102 and guys are tired. It's hot outside. And guys don't have their best stuff. And that's when your starter, who you signed, Cal Quantrill, who is your ace, Sandy Alcantara, if he's still around, Max Meyer, another guy, they have to do their job. Analytics aside, 5 innings, 6 innings, got to make it something. You got to do something. Because the first time through the order, I wasn't too impressed with it. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. As always, stay safe and let's go fish.